See, remove some files and try again.
I know I'm not gonna get it.
The thing's full.
Oh, well, you're not supposed to save it.
So should I?
Are you moving up to on it?
I haven't.
I think you're fine because
Okay.
it's recording right now.
Okay. Sydney, if you're listening, hope it's going well. Okay.
Yo, Miss Randall.
Sit down.
Are my glasses outside?
Sit down. Okay. I'm gonna. Email Sydney's mom real quick. Okay, here we go. Okay, your homework was page 167, so go ahead and get it out. It was 167, 7 through 24. If you were here on Monday and you think you turned it in, I told you you could turn it in the basket, but I'm not going to get it out. So,
No, I have it.
okay, good deal.
I have one question.
Okay, what number?
It was on like the one.
No, not like. What number? Like, give me a problem number so I can look.
On the ones with improper fractions, did you want us to switch those?
Okay, but y'all listen. These aren't fractions. They're just ratios in fraction form. So you do not change them into mixed numbers, okay? Because we're comparing two things. Fractions are just numbers, like a part of a whole. With ratios, we're comparing two different categories, like boys and girls, people wearing tennis shoes compared to people wearing other shoes.
Sam.
Okay, so I'm not going to have 1.5 people wearing tennis shoes, right? I might have 5 people wearing tennis shoes and 2 people wearing something else. Okay, so that's why, Jeremiah, you listen? That's why you do not change. If it's an improper ratio, you don't change it to a mixed number, okay? Because we're comparing two different things, not just numbers anymore. So, do you have a specific problem, Jeremiah, or was that it?
That was it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, let me, what number?
22.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to see if Sydney's mom has
We did 20.
emailed
Are we
me.
using the camera today?
Yes.
Yes, I'm trying to make sure that I'm on.
How do they get yesterday? She came like a little late. She came and said memory.
Yeah.
We saw her inside.
Okay, shh. What number? Somebody asked.
At 22.
22. Let me. Yeah, didn't we?
We did that in class.
We set that up in class.
No, we did it.
We did it before they left. Okay, but I'm not gonna.
I only have half of it. Like,
Did you divide it?
no.
Okay, because on 17 through 22, what kind of rate is it asking for? A unit rate. So remember, on those, your denominator or second term has to be a 1. Okay, so we're comparing meters. So 21, is it 3/4? Is that right? 21 and 3/4 meters in 2.5 hours. Okay, which one of these do we want to become a 1? The meters or hours? Hours. So I'm going to divide this by 2.5, which means I'm going to do the same thing. Oops, that's an ugly 2. There. Okay. You can rewrite this if you need more room. Like this. Before we can multiply or divide with mixed numbers, we have to get rid of what? What do you have to get rid of? The whole number. So we have to change this 21 and 3/4. 21 times 4 is 84. 84 plus 3 is what? 87. So I have 87 fourths divided by 2 times whole numbers. Then when we divide, we have to keep, change, flip. So we keep the 87/4. What do we change division to? Multiplication. And then when we flip 5 halves, it becomes 2/5. And then I want to see if I can simplify. I can't simplify 87 and 4. Can I simplify 87 and 5? No. Can I simplify 2 and 4? Yes, I can divide both of those by 2. So I have a 1 there. And then what's 4 divided by 2? 2. So now I have 87 and 2, cannot simplify. 87 and 5, can't simplify. 1 and 5, no, and 1 and 2. So I have 87 times 1 is 87. What's 2 times 5? 10. Now, we're looking for a unit rate. So think about if I wrote this, this is a 1 now, and then I have 87 tenths. Do I want to leave that like that? No. If this was my ratio, just that together, I would leave it, but it's not. We have that over 1. So I'm going to do 87 divided by 10. And then I would take 8 and 7/10 per hour, or I would also take 8 and 7/10. Just make sure you have meters per hour on whether you do the 8 and 7/10 as a mixed number or 8 and 7/10 as a decimal. Either one. Can't see if she's.
Is Cindy working?
I'm trying to see if her mom's able to watch. Okay, any others on what?
Nothing.
Any other questions on the homework from Monday? 167, numbers 7 through 24. Okay. I'll come pick those up, and in the meantime, excuse me, open your practice journal to page 92. So your practice journal to page 92. Just like this.
I just feel like Kate was fine. Where has he been?
I've been paying attention of him.
Okay.
Oh, can I go get it out of my backpack?
Hurry. Okay.
This looks harder.
Well, I'm going to say it's not. I don't think it's harder. I think it looks harder, but I think once I show you steps on how to do it, that you're going to think it's, I don't want to say easy. I don't like. Okay. So, what we're talking about today, on Monday we talked about ratios. Remember, ratios are just a comparison of two things. We talked about rates, and then the most important one that I thought you're going to use the most in life is your unit rate. And that was just like this. Remember, your unit rate, if it says unit rate, your second term, or if it's fraction form, your denominator becomes a 1. So like the price of gas, you pass a gas station every day. That price for gas is per gallon. That's a unit rate. Okay? You're not going to go around and go, oh, that's a unit rate for gas. But it's telling you you're going to pay that much for 1 gallon of gas. I wish it was that much for, I get 20 gallons for $2.32, but it doesn't work that way. Okay? So that's a unit rate that you see every day. And when you start driving, start paying attention to that.
Wait, so you have to pay like $2.37 for 1 gallon?
Per gallon, yes.
Dang, I didn't know that. That's
Yes.
why my parents always say gas is getting high.
Gas is getting exactly because, and depending on what kind of car you have, but think about it, if you have a 20 gallon gas tank, and you're on empty, like you are putting into the gas station, you're gonna have to pay $2.30, whatever it is, $2.30. Let's do that times 20. So you're looking at more than $40. So that's why, exactly, you don't think about it until you have to start keeping up with that. And you don't want to run out of gas. Okay? So, what we're talking about today are proportions. all proportions are two ratios that are equal. Okay? So we talked like last semester where we found equivalent fractions. Y'all with me? I think let's go back here and see if this is. Okay, it says write the fraction in simplest form. Do not change improper fractions to mixed numbers. We're not going to do all of these. But how do we, in your journal, it's page 92. Sorry.
92.
How do, yes.
I was not at my house.
That's not good. I hope you get a piece of paper. Write all this down. How do we simplify fractions? What operation do we do to simplify fractions? We divide, right? We divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. Okay? So we can simplify doing that. What if we can't simplify the fraction? Let me see if I have one that we can't simplify.
What's this?
10 and 41.
Let's do this. If I have 1/2, and I said, what's an equivalent fraction for 1/2? Can I simplify 1/2?
No.
No. So to simplify, we divide. How can I find an equivalent fraction for this? What operation do I do?
Keep it
Multiply, right? I can multiply this by 2 if I want to, right? We talked about pizza. If I have 2 medium pizzas, I cut one into 2 slices and eat one. I cut the next one into 4 slices and eat 2 of those slices. Have I eaten the same amount of pizza?
Yes.
Yeah. So equivalent fractions. And then these are fractions and they want us to simplify. So what I need you to pay attention. What operation do we do to simplify? Divide. We divide. Okay? So to simplify, we divide. To find an equivalent that we can't simplify, then we multiply. Okay? So what we're doing today is comparing 2 ratios. And they're all set up in fraction form. So that's a plus. So let's look on page 92 in your journal. I'm still trying to see if we're really on or not.
Is there not a speaker on the camera?
Yes, but I can't tell. Oh, wait. Yep, somebody's watching. Hi, Sydney, if that's you. Or Sydney Small. Okay, so let's look. We're on page 92 in our practice journal. And the instructions say, tell whether the ratios form a proportion. Okay? These are ratios set up in what form? What form are these written in? Fraction form. What are the 2 other forms we could write ratios? Word form, which is where you write out the word 2. Symbol form, which what symbol do we use? You remember? The colon. So this is symbol form. And then we have fraction form, which we use the most. And then we also have word form where you actually write out the word 2. Okay. Whatever's in front of the word 2 is your first term, first number. If you're putting it in fraction form, the top number. And then whatever's after the word 2 is your second term. Same thing with the colon. That just takes the place of the word 2. Okay. So let's look at number 1. It says we have the ratio of 1 to 5. Why don't I say 1/5?
Because you have
Because it's a ratio.
It's a ratio, it's not a fraction. Okay? So we're comparing, because it's a ratio, because it says we're comparing 1 to 5. Okay? And then this ratio, we're comparing 5 to 15. So they want to figure out, they want us to tell them if these are pretty much just equivalent. If they're proportional, they're equivalent. So let's look this way, because you're going to have 2 different ways to make sure or figure out if they're proportional. Let's look here. What do I multiply 1 by to get 5?
5.
Okay, I'm going to change clothes. Okay, now, if this ratio and this ratio were proportional, then I would have 1 times 5 is 5. Everybody agrees with that. Is 5 times 5 15?
No.
No. So these would not be proportional. If, instead of 1 to 5 and 5 to 15, let me do it different color. If they had 1 to 5 and let's do 3 to 15, let's look at that one. Multiply 1 by to get 3.
3.
Okay, and then I would do the same thing to the second term. Is 5 times 3 15?
Yes.
So these two ratios would be proportional. On your homework today, your answers are yes and no. Okay?
The whole
You're-
thing?
Huh? I think almost the whole thing. Yes. Yes.
Does the top have to equal the same too, or just the bottom?
If we multiply the first and second term by the same number, then just like this, 1 times 3 is 3, 5 times 3 is 15. So those two are proportional because I can multiply those by the same thing. Here, I can multiply 1 times 5 to get 5, but if I multiply 5 times 5, do I get 15? No. That's why these two ratios are not proportional. It's not a lot of steps. Okay.
That's not a lot.
Yes, yes. But this is your work right here. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2, it says it's a 2 to 3 ratio, correct? 2 to 3, an ugly 2. 2 to 3 and 18. 2 to 3. Remember, these are ratios, not fractions. They're set up in fraction form. Yes, ma'am.
On our homework, if it's a no, do we have to show the correction to it?
No. Let me go back here. So like, if this was your number 1 on your homework, this is what you would show me.
Okay. And then
Does that make sense? So if it's a no, you still have to show me what you're multiplying by, but you don't have to fix it.
Okay.
I think I'm,
So we don't have to show you the no, we just have to show you the yes.
no, you have to show me, no, yes. You have to show me what you're multiplying by. Okay, so let's look at this second one. We have a 2 to 3 ratio and a 12 to 18. So on the last ratio, 2 ratios, we tried to multiply to see if they were the same, if they were equal. Let's try simplifying. Can I simplify 12 and 18? In other words, what's the biggest factor 12 and 18 share? So I'm going to look at it this way. Instead of multiplying to see if I get these, I'm going to simplify this ratio and see if they're equal. What's 12 divided by 6? 2. What's 18 divided by 6? 3. Okay, so let's look. I had 2 to 3, right? 2 to 3. When I simplified this, did it become a 2 to 3?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let me do a different color and let's multiply. Because you can do either way. You can simplify to see if they're equal, or you can multiply to see if they're equivalent. So let's look here. If I had 2 to 3 and then a 12 to 18, I can look at this and go, what do I multiply 2 by to get 12? Okay, so if I multiply 2 times 6, I get 12. What if I multiply 3 times 6?
18.
I get 18. So either way you choose, whether to simplify or to find equivalency by multiplying, you're still going to get the same answer. I think simplifying is usually the easier way, but it's not the only way. Yes?
So on the homework, we could just do multiplication or.
As long as you show me. So like, if you chose this way, this is your work. This is your answer. If you chose this way, this is your work. That's your
And you
answer.
recommend division?
Okay? Drew.
Do you have to do like 2 to 12, or can you do like 3 times what goes to 18 first?
Either.
Doesn't matter.
Either. So you want to look at your denominators first instead of your second term instead of your
Well,
first term.
I don't know, I was just asking, but
You should get the same answer. A yes or no is the same answer. Yes.
If they're like different numbers, wait, never mind.
Okay.
That was a good question.
Are you sure?
Mhm.
Okay. If you want to ask it later, you can ask it. Okay, let's look at 3. What is my motto? Work smarter, not harder. Okay, so let's look at 3. We have a 15 to 2 ratio, and then a 4 to 30.
Oh, I think I know how you can figure this out.
How are we going to work smarter, not harder? Guys, if this ratio has a larger first term than the second, in other words, improper, then if these were proportional or equal, this would have to be bigger than this.
So you have to keep changing.
Do you see what? No, we're not keep, change, flip. If the first term is larger than the second term here, there's no way these are going to be proportional. Because look, we have 15 to 2, 15's bigger. Then over here we have 4 to 30. Is 4 bigger than 30?
No.
So there's no work we need to do because there's no proportional.
So it'll just be yes? No.
No, hold on.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be yes.
Yes,
Camden.
no, maybe so.
Yeah.
We don't cross multiply. You're working harder than you have to.
Oh.
We don't have to cross multiply. We just want to know if these are equal. Is there any way a ratio that has a larger first term than second term will ever be the same as the smaller term first term and a larger second term? Ever? Yes, ma'am. Hold on, Maggie. Go ahead.
Could you turn it into a decimal then do it?
We don't want to. There's no way this improper is ever going to be equal to this proper. Ever. Never, never, never.
15 times something can't go.
Right. There's nothing I can multiply 15 by to get 4.
Unless you multiply 0 times 15 and add 4.
Simplify
Okay, but that doesn't work, right? Simplify what?
I'm smart.
the 15 and the 30.
You can't simplify across. Guys, these aren't equal. We're not multiplying. We're just trying to figure out if these are equivalent. So the only way you can find equivalency is either multiplying or simplifying. Okay? Maggie.
Oh, but, so, wait, the answer would be,
Those
Yes.
proportional, are those equal or equivalent? No.
So I think the next one will be 2, right?
Huh?
The next one will be,
That's it.
No,
The next
no.
one would
Okay,
be-
but I need everybody to listen why there's no work on this one. Okay? We have 15 to 2, which is bigger, 15 or 2?
2? I mean,
15's bigger. Okay? Then on this ratio, we have 4 to 30, which is bigger? 30. Well, there's no way this can be equal to this. If this has a larger first term than the second, it's going to flip on that side. No way. We're just looking at these as 2 ratios. Want to see if they can simplify to the same thing or if we can multiply to find if they're equivalent. Okay? Let's look at number 4. Number 4, we have a 56 to 21. And then what's the other one?
8 over 3.
8 to 3.
8 to 3, 8 over 3.
Okay, so 2 things you can do here. First, let's look. If you're not paying attention, I will not help when you have a question. Okay? So let's look here. Is our first term or second term larger? First. Okay, let's look here before we do any math. Is the first term, this first term bigger than the second term? Yes. So this is worth a look. See if we can do that. So 2 ways we can do. We can simplify to see if they simplify to the same thing. Or I can look at this and go, what can I multiply 3 by to get 21?
7.
Okay, so if these are proportional, what do we say 3 times 7 was?
21.
And then what's 8 times 7?
56.
Are those equivalent?
Yeah.
So we would say that these 2 ratios are proportional. So yes. So again, on your homework today, you still have to do work. But your answers that you circle are yes and no. is
I
what
feel
we're
like
doing.
that's going to be too
Okay.
easy when you put more on.
Okay, so let's simplify. Let's look at this again. 56 to 21. Let's simplify this. What's the largest factor 56 and 21 share?
7.
7. So what's 56 divided by 7? And 21 divided by 7?
3.
Does this simplify to the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, so the 2 different ways you can figure out if they're proportional. You can multiply to see if they're equivalent, or you can simplify to see if they simplify to the same thing. Okay, so you're either multiplying or 2 choices.
So when you
Uh-huh.
multiply, you see like how many times each time on every question.
Ask me that again. When you,
Like how we did 3. How many times will 3 go into 21?
Uh-huh.
Do that for every question when you multiply it.
Which
Okay, if you're choosing to multiply to see if they're proportional or equal, then if you multiply this, you have to multiply that by the same number.
Yes, but do you
Okay.
see how many times 0 go into 21? But
You
on like
can.
a different question.
Yeah, I could even look and say, okay, well, what can I multiply 8 by to get 56?
7.
And then I could work that way, or I could look here and go, well, what can I multiply 3 by to get 21? 7. Okay, so you can pick the first or second term to start with, it doesn't matter.
Wherever you go, you
Okay,
can
let's look at 5, number 5 in our practice journal. We have 5 to 8, oops. 5 to 8 is one of the ratios, and 62 and a half to 100. Okay, make sure I wrote it down correctly. 5 to 8, 2 and a half to 100. Okay? Now, if I look at this, I'm like, is there anything I can, a whole number, start over. Is there a whole number I can multiply 8 by to 100?
No.
No,
No.
there's not. There's nothing I can multiply. There's not a whole number I can multiply 8 by to get 100. So, I'm looking at this. Can I simplify 5 and 8?
Yeah. No.
Can I?
No.
No. So I'm going to look over here and go, okay, well, let's try simplifying here. I have 62 and a half, and I have 100. What's the biggest factor? Look at the last numbers. What's the biggest factor there?
30 and a half.
5. Or like
5.
10.
Okay, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. Pick
It's
one and go with
5.
it. 5.
What?
5 will go into 62 and a half because it ends in a. 5 will go into 100 because it ends in a 0. So I'm going to try this. Okay, let's do the easy one first. How many times will 5 go into 100? 20 times. I have to have 20 nickels to have $1. Okay, and then I'm going to come down here because I'm not real sure. I am, but I'm not.
It'll go into
Okay.
time.
So 5 will go into 6 one time. How many times will 5 go into 12?
2.
2 times. How many times will 5 go into 25?
5.
Okay, so I have 12 and a half to 20.
Oh, that's easy.
Is that as simple as I can make that? That 5, oh, no, I can't even talk. Will 5 go into both of those again?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that
Yes and no.
125?
Okay, no, it's 12 and a half. So I'm going to divide by 5 again. How many times, let's do the easier one. How many times will 5 go into 20?
4.
Okay, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do 12 and a half divided by 5. How many times will 5 go into 12?
2 times 2.
How many times will 5 go into 25?
5 times.
Okay. Now, is there anything, I'm going to X these out. I'm going to change question. So now I have a 5 to 8. Jeremiah, get a drink or something. 5 to 8, and then a 2.5 to 4. Is there anything I can multiply 4 by to get 8?
Yes.
What if I multiply 2.5 times 2? What do I get? Do it.
4 and a half.
2.5 times 2. What do I get? Work it out.
5.
Work it out.
2 and a half.
2.5, 2.5, 2 and 5/10 times 2. Work it out. Work it out.
Got it.
Yeah.
Easy.
What, Addie?
That's good.
For 2.5 times 2? How'd you get that? Did you add a decimal and a
Oh,
0?
I did times 5.
Oh, that's right.
2.5 times 2. Half times 2.
5.
5. Come back. So are 5 to 8 and 62.5 to 100 proportional?
Yes.
Yes.
That was a long problem.
If you know your facts, you could have started off dividing that by 25.
Ah, that was easy.
You gotta know your facts. Okay, I want you to do number 6. I want you to do number 6. It's going to be similar to that one. It's not an easy, you can't just look at it and go, oh, that's easy.
It's easy.
Okay. So 6, you're doing 17 to 20. You have a 17 to 20 ratio. We're comparing that ratio to 90 and 1/10 and 106. When you are finished, you raise your hand. You don't say a word or don't blurt out an answer. Give everybody time to answer that on their own.
Miss Hansel,
Mhm.
I knew when you said a pair of glasses before.
I did not.
Okay.
Okay, I want everybody to stop. Can I simplify 17 and 20?
No.
Just looking here, can I simplify 90 and 1/10 and 106? That's a trick question. I can divide both of those by 2, but if you do that, you're working harder than you need to. Okay. Some of y'all at the beginning of class, you're like, let's cross multiply. Let's cross multiply. Let's cross multiply. Well, not yet. Okay. Now, let's look at this. There's not an easy way to look at that and go, oh, I know what that simplifies to. It's not easy, is it? Okay. So you can call them one or the other. You can call them butterfly wings or Band-Aids. I don't care what you call them. But you can't call them a butterfly aid or a band fly. You have to call it a butterfly or a Band-Aid.
A butterfly.
So what does that mean? Butterfly wings, or you can call them Band-Aids, I don't care. And I'm going to multiply the numbers that are on the same butterfly wing.
I remember this from 5th grade.
I'm going to multiply the numbers that are in the same butterfly wing or Band-Aid. Don't blurt out. Okay? I always go left to right. You don't have to, but you can. So I'm going to multiply 17 times 106 and 20 times 90 and 1/10. If these two ratios are proportional, you're the same number on each side of the equal sign. Okay? So I'm multiplying 17 and 106. Do this. Do you have a pencil, Katie? Are you working this? Okay, sorry. And then 20 and 90 and 1/10. If these two ratios are proportional, what you get for this answer and what you get for that answer are going to be the same. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, Drew. Sorry.
Could you have done that on number 5?
So you can just do that one and the big number.
I think on this homework, yes. There's some that'll say multiply to see if they're proportional. Some will say use the cross products, but I believe on your homework today, you can use either one. Okay.
Which one's easier, this one?
To me, it depends on what numbers you're looking at. The smaller numbers that you know their factors pretty quick, to me, it's just easier to multiply or simplify. But these, when you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I don't even know kind of where to start, I think cross multiplying is the way you get there quicker. I'll say that. Yes, ma'am. Addie, did you have a question?
No.
No, okay, yes ma'am.
How do you know if to cross multiply or to?
Well, what I would do is I would look at this, because I don't know my products of 17, right? I know 17 times 1, but I don't know them off the top of my head if I do 17 times 2 and all that. But I do know 20s, right? And I look, is there anything I can multiply, a whole number, that I can multiply 20 by to get 106? No. So I'd look at that. And then I also looked here and thought, no, I can cut these in half. But I see a decimal and a whole number, and I'm just going to cross multiply. Okay. So what did y'all get for 17 times 106?
1,802.
We're supposed to do that?
What'd you get?
1,802.
Okay, 1,802.
That's what I got.
Okay, if you work this out, is that what you get? So 1,802. Okay. What about 20 times 90 and 1/10?
1,800.
1,800 what?
No, it's 18,020.
Are you sure? Look at your decimal.
Oh, my God.
Okay, guys, over here you have a decimal.
Oh, I forgot the one.
Oh, wait, I did that.
Wait, what?
You have a
I
decimal.
put the one at the end. You don't
Oh, you did 90 times
20.
20, 18,000. But wait, how many numbers do I have behind my decimals in
Two.
this? Where?
One.
I just have one. I have one number behind my decimal. There's not a decimal here. Okay, so that's where we get the 1,802.
Oh, so they're
Oh, wait,
So-
I was right.
These equal.
yes.
So what does that mean about these two ratios? Are they proportional or are they not?
They are.
They are. So you're looking at a yes answer.
Oh, that was so easy.
And I think Mariana is the one that asked, which is easier? To me, it depends on what kind of numbers they give you. If they're small numbers that you know they're multiples and factors of, this probably isn't the easiest. But when I'm just going to cross multiply. Okay, so number 7, you decide what you want to do. You can cross multiply, you can simplify, you can find equivalency. I'm not going to tell you which way to use. You get to pick. So we have a 3 2/10 to 4 and 16 to 24. And again, your answer is a yes, no. You have to show me how you got yes or no, but it's a yes, no. Let's see. I'm going to take a look. I'm done now. Yes, sir. No, because 16 times 4 is not 3 2/10. Hold on just a second, Maggie. Here we go. Oh, no, Mark, stay here. Here. Marcus, Mariana, Jeremiah, Kate, Drew, okay. Okay, yes, Maggie.
I think.
Do you have an answer? Okay.
You do both.
Okay.
Is it right?
You do both.
That's fast if you just do it the other way.
Wait, do you do butterfly or do you do like?
You can do either one. Camden's question was, do we butterfly or do we find equivalency? Do we simplify? You can do either way. You can do either one. Does not matter. There's only one way to do this. Be careful with your decimals.
Call me names.
Wait, what'd you get? Maggie, I think yours is wrong. What'd you do? How'd you do that?
You don't need to do like a dinosaur. You don't need to do the right story, okay?
He told you.
I
But
sure
4
did.
divided by 3 2/10 is 8/10.
4 divided by 3?
Are you dividing this by or multiplying? What are you doing? Okay, well, 3 and 2
Marcus
times
done fight.
4.
But I'm dividing
It's
16 times 4.
16 divided by 4?
Yeah.
What?
Okay, 16 divided by 4 is that 4?
Said what? Yeah, she
24 divided by 4 is not that. 24 divided by 6 is that,
Yeah.
but 16 divided by 6 is
Oh,
not
it is.
that. Yes. I don't know how you got
That's right.
Yes, that's correct.
I do not care.
Oh, I had to
Miss Vanessa, she's calling me names.
That's your answer to that.
Right.
Yeah.
You shut up.
That right.
Tell someone to shut up.
So did you, hey, gentlemen, do you both need tallies?
No, ma'am.
Then both of you don't talk. So you divided 3 won't go to 16. And 24 divided by 6 is 4.
It's my writing.
Are you how are you finding your answer is my question. What are you doing to find an answer?
The writing that goes into both of them.
Okay, 3 won't go into 16. Where's yours? So did you get a yes or a no? Correct.
This, but, oh, is that right?
Mhm.
I don't know how to do the other way. I'm so confused.
Which one? You're cross multiplying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There was one that's not, they're not supposed to be right.
Okay, that's correct. Okay. How?
Right here, doing the butterfly.
Okay, where is your? Okay, but where's your decimal?
Drop the decimal.
No. When you multiply with decimals, that's where you do your brick wall.
Man, go to the rich.
So if you're cross multiplying, I'm doing little butterflies. You're cross multiplying, they have to equal the same thing or it's not proportional. So what's 6 times 4?
64.
6 times 4?
24.
24. What is 4 times 1?
4.
Plus 2. 6. Okay, so 16 times 4 is 64. Let's come over here. What's 2 times 4?
4. 8.
Excuse me. What's 2 times 2?
4.
Okay, and I have my 0. What's 3 times 4?
12.
What is 3 times 2?
6.
Plus 1.
7.
Okay, so I'm going to add. 8 plus 0 is?
8.
4 plus 2 is?
6.
7 plus nothing is?
7.
Okay, how many total numbers do I have behind my decimals in my problem?
2. 1.
1. So I move my decimal here. So what I'm looking at now is 64 and 76 and 8/10 the same?
No.
No.
Oh,
So that means no. Okay? If it's the same thing, it's a no. Yes, ma'am. Addie?
Do it the other way.
Okay. Can I start a new page? So I have 3 2/10 to 4, and then this was 16 to 24. Okay, if I want to try the other way, this is what I would have done. I would have tried, I'd look at this and go, well, what can I multiply 4 by to get 24?
6.
Times 6. So if these are proportional, when I multiply 3 2/10 times 6, if these are proportional, what should I get?
16.
16. So let's see if I do. I have 12. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 1 is 19. And we'll go here. Between what two numbers?
19.
Yeah, 19 and 2. And that. The only other way you could have done this is you could have simplified. You could have simplified. Let me write it in black as to separate them.
Spencer, there's flashing go on behind your camera. I don't know what it means.
It's like a little.
No, this camera.
It's like
Oh.
Oh, it's
Oh, it's kind of.
Hey, Google.
Okay, so let's look at this because I see a decimal for share. Close. Close.
5.
Close.
7.
What's the biggest factor 16 and 3? 8.
61.
Okay, what is 16 divided by 8?
2.
And what's 24 divided by 8?
3.
Okay, let's look at this. Some of y'all were looking at 6 here. If I do, let me find one more color. What can I divide 24 by to get 4?
6.
Okay,
That's what I did, but the second time.
okay, so 24 divided by 6 is 4. What about 16 divided by 6? How many times will 16 go into, 6 go into 16?
Twice.
2 times. Well, right now I know it's not even going to be the same, right? Because that would have to be a 3, right? And so you can, I can go back one where you cross multiply on that one. Did we find the same answer each?
Yeah.
Yes. So you can find a way and stick with it. If you like cross multiplying, roll with it. If you like trying to simplify or find equivalency, you can do that. Okay, there's not a only one way to do it. It's one of those in math that there's several ways. Okay, let's continue on page 92 in your rate. Number 9 or 9 through 11, it says tell whether the two rates form a proportion. Guys, when we see words thrown in here, on Monday I said if you see you're comparing 2 different categories, you set it up in what first?
Fractions.
No, not fractions. Say that one more time. Words. Okay? So, in other words, 1 through 8, they just threw out numbers for us. Okay? Number 9, we have 28 points in 3 games and 112 points in 12 games. What 2 categories are we comparing? Points and games. So remember, when I say words, you can just do letters. So I can look at it and know what you're comparing. So points to games. So that first ratio they give us on page 92 in your journal, 28 points in how many games? 3. The second proportion or ratio they give us is 112 points in how many games? 12. Okay. So the only thing different here is that they gave us words to set up. Okay, so we're comparing points to games, not just numbers. So again, you can look at this and go, well, what can I multiply 3 by to get 12? 4. And I can multiply 28 by 4. If 28 times 4 is 112, what does that tell me about these 2 ratios? They're proportional. If 28 times 4 is not 112, they're not proportional. So you can multiply. I could also look here and try to simplify if I wanted to. I can go, what do I simplify 12 by to get 3? What's 12 divided by what gives me 3? 4. So I could divide 12 by 4. And I could divide 112 by 4. If 112 divided by 4 is 28, what does that tell me about these 2 ratios? They're proportional. Okay? Third way you can do it is you can cross multiply. If you multiply 28 and 12, and then you multiply 3 and 112, if those answers are the same, what does that tell us about these 2 ratios? They're proportional. If they're not the same, they are not proportional. So you pick one of those 3 ways. And then on your paper, I'm going to come look, see if you have the right answer.
For all 3?
No, just number 9. Just this one.
And the rest of them.
Yes.
Do you just want us to do number 9 to stop?
Let me come look at your answer. If you get 9 correct, I'll let you do 10. Wait, what are you dividing?
Oh.
I got
You do? Okay. Yes. Good. Correct.
Oh, so I can do 10?
Yes, sir. Remember the 3 ways. You can simplify, you can multiply, you can cross multiply. You just pick and go with it. Yes. Yeah, then you may do 10. Okay, what'd you get here? Okay, how'd you get 3 there?
Oh wait, I accidentally.
Well, I don't know, what'd you get? Where's your, okay, but look at your butterfly. You multiplied 28 and wing.
Wait,
Or Band-Aid. Look, we're cross
I mean,
multiplying.
my bad.
Okay, do you see what I'm saying though? Okay. I'm sorry, Katie. Yes. That's correct. Yes.
Do I do it?
If you want to try 11, you can. If I have not checked your number 9, correct. Now, the only thing I'm going to tell you is you need to set it up in words.
Okay.
Like the P to G. Correct. Mhm. Yes, yes. Okay, if you're going to cross multiply, you multiply those 2. And then you multiply, Gentlemen. Well, I appreciate your theatricality. Okay, I think almost everybody, if you didn't finish here. Okay, so let's look at ways you could do this. The way I looked at it first was, I said, okay, I know I can multiply 3 times 4 and get 12. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to multiply 28 times 4. And I got 112. So what does that tell me? If I can multiply both of those by the same number and get this answer, what does that tell me about those 2 ratios? They're proportional. Okay, so that's a yes. You could do, I could simplify. In other words, I look at 12 and go, well, I know I can divide that by 4 to get 3. And then I can come over here and divide 112 by 4. What's 112 divided? 28. So what does that tell me about these 2 ratios? They're proportional. And then the last way, guys, if you're going to cross multiply, let me do these in different colors. It might help you see it a little better. I have to multiply the numbers that are on the same butterfly wing or Band-Aid, or if I do 2 different colors, I have to multiply what's in the blue. So 28 times 12, and then 3 times 112. When you multiply 3 times 112, what do you get?
20. That's over here. 36.
Okay, so if I'm multiplying 3 times 112, I get 336.
Oh, multiplying.
Yeah, if I'm multiplying. Because remember, if I'm doing my butterfly wings or my Band-Aids, I'm multiplying. And then when I do 28 times 12, it comes out to 336 also. Thank you for your glasses. Do I need glasses? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay, on number 10, what 2 things are we comparing in words or letters? We're comparing notes and measures. If you don't know what you're comparing, you don't know where to put the numbers. That's why I make you set them up in words or letters or whatever. So that first ratio is 32 notes in 4 minutes, right? The second one, 12 notes in 2 measures. Same thing, I can simplify, I can multiply, and I can cross multiply. just looking at this, my first thought would be, what do I multiply 2 by to get 4?
2.
2. 2 times 2 is 4, but what is 2 times 12?
24.
24. Is 24 and 32 the same?
No.
So these are not proportional. Okay? Okay, go ahead and if you have a clean piece of paper at your desk, make sure the homework assignment on the top so I don't have to guess. So we're doing page 174, numbers 5 through 20. I'll give you just a few seconds to get your textbook out. And we'll do one of each kind.
Why do we need 2 papers?
Well, because I thought we might do some extra questions on the other piece of notebook paper, but we ran out of time. So at the top of your notebook paper, you have page 174. We're doing numbers 5 through 20. We're going to do one from, there's 3 different types of problems, so we'll do one of each. Okay? And for a quick reference, if you don't finish in class, take your journal home. Why? Yeah. There are, I think, 6 questions that look just like 1 through 8 on here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 questions that are words. And then we'll do the table ones. We'll do one of those together. Yes, sir.
Next time he gets back, can I go to Russian?
Yes. Okay, so numbers 5 through 12. Numbers 5 through 12 are like the problems we did in our journal 1 through 8. Guys, you get to pick how you want to do it. All it's asking is tell whether the ratios form a proportion. So your circled answers are your yes or no, okay? But you still have to show work. So you can cross multiply. You can simplify both of the ratios to see if they simplify to the same thing. Or you can multiply to see if you can find equivalency. So let's look at, y'all pick one. What number do y'all want to do?
5.
12.
Okay, I have a 5 and a...
No, 10. 10.
5.
10.
5.
10.
5.
Raise your hand if you want to do 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me do 10. Okay, so 10. They give us an 18 to 27 and a 33 to 44. Now, I'm looking at this and my personal, I know my factors of 18 and 27, 33 and 44. I know those factors. I know what I can multiply to get those. So I'm going to simplify both of these. In other words, what's the biggest factor? Is this the only way you can do it? No. What is the biggest factor 18 and 27? Almost dropped my pen. Share.
9.
Okay. So I can look at it. That doesn't look right. What is 18 divided by 9? Anyone?
2.
18 divided by 9 is 2. What is 27 divided by 9? 3. Okay, so that's 1 that I simplified. Now I look at my 33 to 44.
You can't divide by 11.
I can divide both of these by 11 because they're both double digits. How many times what's 33 divided by 11? 3. And what's 44 divided by 11? Okay, so I chose to simplify both of these. Did they simplify to the same thing? No. So my answer to this problem would be no, is what you would circle. You could have cross multiplied. Here's why I didn't multiply like 18 times something. There's nothing not a whole number to multiply 18 by to get 33. So when I saw that, I said, nope, not going to try that. Then I looked at, do I know my factors of these numbers? Or you can always cross multiply. Any of those ways, you still should get the same answer. Okay? Numbers 13 and 14, we did not do an example, so we're going to do one of those.
I don't know.
Okay, let me start here. If you notice on 13 and 14, they give you 4 different ratios, correct? Okay, so let's just, somebody tell me, we have X, you don't have to write this because it's in your book, but I'm writing it. So on 13, we have X and Y. We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
7.
And what is this? 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, guys, y'all listening? You pick any 2. You just have to compare 2 of these. Now, studies show, and me grading papers show, that usually when you work with smaller numbers, you do better. So I'm going to look at the first 2 ratios. I have a 1 to 7 and a 2 to 8. So I'm looking at this right here and I'm like, oh, what can I multiply 1 by to get 2? Okay. If they're proportional, when I multiply 7 times 2, I would get 8. But what is 7 times 2? 14. So are these 2 ratios proportional? No. And guys, if these 2 aren't, these 2 and those 2 aren't, none of them are. Okay? So on number 14, if I were you, I would just pick the first 2 ratios. You can do the first and last. It doesn't matter. You're still going to get the same answer. But again, usually when we work with smaller numbers, we make fewer mistakes. Okay? And then 15 through 20, we're not just comparing numbers anymore. We're comparing categories. Okay? So to make sure. Remember, when I say words, you don't necessarily have to write the whole word, but the abbreviation, the first letter, so I know you know what you're comparing. Okay? Sir. And I will when I let y'all get started on here so y'all can work on that. Okay, so let's look at 15 through 20. Pick a number.
20.
Okay.
Which one's the hardest?
20. 17.
17.
Normally they get
17 and
more difficult
440.
the larger numbers you get, but we'll just do 20.
20.
Hey, just a quick reminder, the odd numbers, the answers are in the back. Now, does that mean you could just write yes or no? No, I counted wrong. But, okay, so since 20 is not in the back, let's look at it. So 20, we have, what 2 things are we comparing? Not numbers. What 2 things are we comparing on 20? Hits and bats. Again, you don't have to write the whole word. You can just put the first letter. I just need. Okay, the first ratio, they say 60. Somebody tell me that. I looked in there.
68
hits and 472.
Okay, 68 hits to 172 bats, right?
Yes.
Okay, what's the second ratio they give us on?
43 hits
Okay,
and 123 bats.
okay. Same thing. I can multiply these by the same number, see if I get this. I can simplify both of these if I want to, or I can cross multiply.
Or do the butterfly.
Cross multiply.
That's cross multiplying. That's the butterfly.
That's what I do.
Multiply.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, pick one and go. Same answer.
Oh, we can do it?
Uh-huh.
Gucci. Why did I write him so far?
Yeah.
How many of y'all are cross multiplying? Okay.
Oh,
Cross multiply.
I forgot what 8 times 2 is.
16. Today, tomorrow.
She's a grandmother.
Wait,
Okay.
so would you do 43 times 172? Okay.
Okay, yeah, you have to make sure. And guys, if you like cross multiplying, if you want to get a highlighter and like I could highlight this and that in one color. And I could highlight that and that. Just if you're a visual person to recognize I have to multiply those two and then the other two.
Something's vibrating.
That would be
My phone.
Oh, that's 18 towers. Get it up.
I don't even know what I'm reading.
Oh
my God, everybody-
I'm smart.
You get it up. You give it
Am I
up.
gonna see mine or?
Can we get a fan?
If
Might be
I took
burnt.
someone's phone,
Oh, that's
for
been.
you wouldn't know.
You good at that kind of stuff?
You know when.
Okay, are y'all through?
Because mine.
Did y'all get, or did y'all just write no because I already had it up here?
No, I got it. I'm pretty
Hey,
sure.
I'm in my room if you want to come to my room.
Excuse me. I can
Okay,
see the
bye.
left
Then I
side.
was going to say, is put my fingerprint in there.
Gotta have
Delete yours.
Okay.
Mark it.
Okay. Shh. So again, you can cross multiply, you can simplify. I was gonna say, I looked at this and thought, okay, well I can divide both of those by 2, but I know 43 is prime, so I'd have to figure out what 43 times 2 or 3. I'd have to figure that out. So I just cross multiply also.
Prime and what's that other thing? Prime.
Composite.
Yeah. Do you not have one of those charts? Miss Hayes had 2 in her room.
Mhm, no.
Over there.
When we talk about prime, I just say, where are you going to meet me? And you say 235 at 7-Eleven. Those are the first
time.
time.
Hey guys, where you gotta meet me? 235, 7-Eleven. Nope.
Okay, I'm going to come pick up your other homework. And you should use this last 5 minutes to,
Look for my
you
one.
might,
Really? 5
some of you might be able to finish in 5 minutes.
minutes.
Some of you should be at least able to do quite a few.
Yeah.
Zero.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody on the hood.
What?
Yes, Marcus.
Oh, you suck. Yes, look.
When Jeremiah finishes his test.
So, when do we
How do you know if
do
you
the test correction? Hey, Ben.
Well, I've got it. Jeremiah has to finish his test, and then I'll grade it and I'll give them back for y'all to do. No, you can look at.
Wait, are they real? Are they real glasses?
Y'all still want?
Miss Angela, she's over here looking at my picture.
Mariana Chayton.
Okay, if you're finished, then I would say you're more than welcome to talk. Otherwise,
Don't talk.
yeah, we should probably be working and not talking. Stop.